So for a lot of people, they think that the second shoe to drop is this is non-human intelligence, and maybe the conversation stops there. Like the president comes out and says, there's non-human intelligence. The truth is that will precipitate this crescendo of other questions that maybe the government's not ready to answer, that will court, if not precipitate, potential negative ramification for society.
This isn't going to stop with the president and world leaders doing a coordinated press conference to disclose the truth of the NHI reality here on Earth. For our United Planetary Society as a whole, that will be just the beginning of the next phase of our growth and evolution with this knowledge. But as the Colonel alludes, there are societal dangers. This is where long-held norms, traditions, and the status quo will start to break down. Think about how this will impact religion, the sciences, energy sectors, capital markets, politics, and even interpersonal relations. These are likely what Colonel Nell is referencing about questions the government is not ready to answer. But also need to remember, not all of this change will be bad. And eventually, when we all come out on the other side together, better off as a species that is more united with a better understanding of the greater truths that we all live under, and hopefully dodge the potential existential catastrophes staring us all in the face at the moment. However, and shockingly not shocking, the power brokers of the world, like the military-industrial complex, religious institutions, massive consumer corporations, energy sector giants, just to name a few, could and very likely will either directly or indirectly attempt to put the brakes on all this, regardless of how badly we need it, purely out of the fear of losing their market value and more likely their control over status quo societal influences and power. And if anyone in those positions says that preventing a stock market collapse is a legitimate reason to not disclose, if that's what it takes and it will help us take the next steps of evolving our species' dysfunctional society, then I say, hey, you better tighten your damn seatbelt. Not to be reckless here, I acknowledge that this is an extremely precarious juncture to be crossed, and where our leaders must be brave and not let the ugly, ignorant human greed and lust for money and power blind their decision makings in this moment. This juncture will be a tipping point that will allow us to climb out of the destructive and archaic modalities that have dominated our planet for the last 100 years at least, and progress us forward together as the global family that we are, in a balanced existence for each other and our environment. Or we will be swallowed by our inability to learn our lessons that our planet, and according to most abductees, the NHI presence is so desperate for us to understand. We must live in balance and harmony with our home environment, or we are in deep. We are a parasite on this planet. We take and take and take, and essentially give very little, if anything, back into the raw cycles of nature. Colonel Nell was asked by moderator Alex if what he was implying with some of his statements that we're not ready as a society for disclosure.
I guess I would draw an analogy, though, for people that believe in a certain faith tradition, whatever that faith tradition is, and hold to that and subscribe to that in a very serious and devout way, and sort of pose the question, even for folks of that ilk, and I would count myself as one, if you're confronted with the reality of your religious belief system, like the reality of the metaphysical, an angel, a messenger from God, what have you, that's going to be a sea state change in your way of dealing with reality, right? Even though you already believe it. So it's one thing to believe and it's another to know. And I think in this context, this phenomena has the potential for an analogous effect both on the individual and on society.
And I find it interesting that when asked if society is ready for this reality, that Colonel Nell makes the analogy here to metaphysical beings and devout spiritual beliefs. What would happen to most mortal humans when faced with the reality of the metaphysical appearing in front of them? If you saw the Virgin Mary, or Jesus, or an apparition like an angel or a messenger from God literally materialize in front of you, that would be extremely challenging to digest. even for those of deep, devout religious beliefs. So if some elements of the phenomenon fall within a metaphysical category, as Nell seems to imply, beyond how would an average person process that, how would a government explain this to their entire society? And this is likely also a question our leaders clearly aren't ready or currently even capable of answering. If you enjoyed this Beyond Strangeness Observable and you'd like to see the whole episode, that is linked here and in the description below. I'll see you again soon. Take care, my friend.